Hello and welcome. If you want to make your piano practice creatively conscientious, this is a perfect video for you. In it, I will explain this idea of role play for one, become your own teacher and a student at the same time. I know it sounds a little crazy, but it is gonna make your practice go to the next level, and it's a lot of fun to do. This approach makes your practice not only extremely effective, but also very directed while it's happening. Much better than regular boring practice that we usually do. Some of us do, maybe not everybody. But before we get there, I want you to remember the best teacher you have ever had. And ask yourself 3 questions about them. What made you trust them? How did they motivate you? What made their approach so effective, in your opinion? You don't have to answer it right away. This is something for you to ponder over. I'm going to tell you my answer. My perfect teacher is confident, convincing, and makes no compromise. This is what makes them an authority for me. It's my way or the highway kind of attitude. Most of teachers have that. But why? It comes from a clear idea of how they want this piece to sound, a certain piece that you're playing. And that comes in turn from a strong belief in what is right and what is wrong, and them knowing one from the other. And they have expectations of you as a student. And you as a student make it your goal to meet the expectations. But here in this role play model, you are your own teacher, so your goal is to meet your own expectations, which is quite pleasurable to do, right? If you think about it, you're just serving yourself. But what is an important step here is to make these expectations very clear to yourself in words. Ideally, you want to say out loud to describe the way that you want a certain piece or a fragment of this piece to sound in all its details that you can come up with. If you are practicing in a place where you can't be alone and you don't want the people around you to be concerned about your current mental state, then you can write things down. That helps too. But be very clear, full sentences, no bullet points. And when you do this, make sure you make no compromises. That means do not downgrade your expectations based on your current abilities. If you start doing this, if you lower your expectations because you can't do certain things at this time, you are robbing yourself of a great opportunity to grow and to expand the realm of your abilities. This is why you start improving with a teacher, because they don't make those compromises. It should actually become the other way around. Your abilities at the end should match that expectation. What to do if you are not sure of your own idea, if you don't have a very clear way of how this piece should sound? Pick a great master that you admire, whose interpretations you find convincing and beautiful, and try to copy that. There is no shame in copying great masters. All painters at some point had to copy the great masters of the past to learn from them, to learn the skill and the craft. Just make sure you pick a really good artist who is older or maybe from a previous generation. The reason I say that is twofold. One, because when they're older, they had time to really mature into their style. And second, because their artistry had a chance to pass the test of time. Next step, becoming competent and clear. For a second, revert back to being a student, play through your piece in its entirety, and at the same time, you need to listen actively, critically, as a teacher, very attentively and very closely. After you're done playing, revert back to being a teacher. Now, you've listened, and now you need to analyze the state the piece is in right now and the progress that you've made so far. After that, a detailed plan of action is required, and this becomes your assumption of what steps to take in order to get the result you want. Why do we ask teacher for help? Because we're convinced that they know what to do. But what makes their instructions sound so persuasive? They are competent and clear. You need to give yourself very clear instructions on what to do. But how to be competent about it? Your competence will come from trusting your original idea and your own experience with the piece. Clarity comes from naming out loud, again, or in writing, what you need to focus on, what you need to pay attention to, what you need to keep in mind next time you play this fragment. This is crucial, once again, to formulate this in words. What you need to change or do next time around. You need to make sure that the idea crystallizes in your mind before it becomes easy to execute. Use rich and creative vocabulary to describe the exact characteristics or qualities of the sound that you want to hear or of the actions that you need to perform. Engage your imagination. Be as descriptive as you want. For example, you can say you want it to be more delicate or more directed. You want it to sound maybe sharper, crisper. You want it to ring like a bell, to shine like a star. Maybe you want different voices to come out as different lights are turning on. You want this melody to be like a fluffy ball of yarn unfolding. You want this bass to be like steps in the snow, so it's not too aggressive, but it's also not too mushy. You want it to be like a walk in the clouds. Just let your imagination go. Now you need to stay consistently, cognitively concentrated. Now that you've set yourself some instructions to follow and they're very clear to you, you begin your practice session. And you try to follow these detailed actions. And when you do, you need to make sure that you are 200% concentrated, focused on the task at hand at any given moment. You need to be scanning your bodily movement, your motions of your hands, of your arms, and the sound result that these movements give you. And look for any consistencies. If you found a good consistency where you move this way and it gives you the sound that you like, try to recreate that and use it to your advantage when you play. If you found an ineffective pattern of movements and sound result, then avoid it. A little side note here. It is easier to stay consistently cognitively concentrated on a smaller fragment. I suggest pick something between 10 and 15 seconds increments and really make sure your work is detailed and diligent. Now it is the time to give yourself some constructive criticism. After each attempt, analyze out loud. Point out to yourself the successful moments of your performance and in detail explain to yourself what exactly didn't match your initial expectations. There are usually two types of reasons why they could be true. One reason is that you did not exactly 100% follow your own instructions, even though they were clear, but you just have to be honest and say, okay, let me try that again. This is your solution. The second possible reason here is that your initial assumption on what steps you need to take in order to reach your sound goal was flawed. Well, you just have to admit, okay, I made a mistake somewhere in my assumption, so let me go take a step back and adjust it. Alter it, maybe sometimes ever slightly. For example, it could have to do with fingering. If you change the fingering, everything will fall into place. Sometimes it has to do with your hand position, with the movement of your elbow, of your wrist. It could be a very little thing. This is why it's very important to scan every movement that you're doing and the sound result that you get. And a final remark, please understand and remember that musical learning is not linear, it is spiral. That means that you have created the circuit for yourself to follow, and you can repeat these steps as many times as you need. And you can also change the order of those steps to 3, and 4. The first step of creating a clear, strong belief and original idea of your sound expectations, that step is always where it stems from. So this step continues to be number 1. But maybe, for example, you decided to give yourself first some constructive criticism because you already know the state of the piece that you're in currently. Then you decided to do some consistently cognitively concentrated practicing. And after that, you have analyzed, and then you decided to give yourself competent and clear instructions on what to do about it. Thank you for watching. Subscribe to my channel if you like the content, and stay tuned for more videos. And happy practicing. Bye.